Welcome to Backchannel, the hottest show on DBN. They've given me the controls. I have them, so I can backchannel. We're going to do interviews. We've got fourth place finisher, Riaz Varani. Riaz, very, very strong game. I know it didn't end up the way you wanted it to, but just walk us through your thought process as you looked like you had complete control of this game and then no control at all.
Part of life, right? You think
Part of life.
you think you're getting ahead and things are feeling good, and then all of a sudden it collapses, right? And
What's the
that's
initial
exactly
strategy here?
The initial
Did you have a
strategy
strategy?
here? Yeah, the initial strategy here was to air to get rid of Turkey, and really once Turkey was eliminated, make a decision on where I wanted to go next and who I wanted to work with next.
And as we go here, I will tell you that the sideline commentators noticed that it seemed like you really wanted to work with Katie. You were calm when she was kind of nervous. She didn't really want to fight a two-front war. As we see here, though, you're still working with Bradley. You're still airing, but then you get Bradley to move west. Tell us the thinking.
Doug was about to overrun McAllis, and that was the biggest problem. Was we had to find a way to be able to control that. And the biggest issue I had with Bradley was the number of armies that he had, and that spooked me, because with the number of armies Katie had and the number of armies he had, it was always troublesome. But he was willing to move west, and I was happy with that.
You got him to go to Tyrolia. It looks like you're in command here. You go to Bohemia in 04. By the way, I will say on the sideline, I didn't talk about this, but you kept asking for Trieste back, and Bradley kept kind of resisting. It's as if Trieste to Bradley was Italian and not an Austrian home center. I mean, like you're basically begging him for it.
He wanted to use it as a buffer space so that he didn't have to protect Venice, and that's essentially what he wanted. I obviously wanted Trieste back at some point, but every time I took it, it ended up being to my own demise.
So yeah, first time was spring 1905, as we see here.
Yeah.
And it looks like the AR is in sort of good control of everything, but you walk it back in a deal with Bradley to disband Ionian. Yet he had moved to Adriatic, and he did disband Ionian, but he's still in Adriatic, and this is tough times.
Yes, and at this point, it was like, okay, well, I think Katie has to be Katie long term. I would have much preferred that he disbanded Adriatic, of course, but he did say that he would probably disband Ionian, and I could live with it. It was a little bit frustrating, because I felt like I was not getting enough space to do things from Bradley. But at the same time, I had every opportunity to stab Katie and her diplomacy. It convinced me not to.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed very much to me that you were making a bet with Katie and McAllis was making a bet with Katie as to whose side Katie was on. Katie seemed to be a little nervous. Maybe nervous isn't the right word, but non-committal. I can assure you she was just as non-committal with McAllis. I mean, it was a battle for Katie for several game years. We can just sort of go through here. You're fighting Bradley. Katie's not really fighting McAllis. This is frustrating you now around this period of time, I think.
Absolutely. This was the time where we needed it. This was the time where I really needed Katie to make that play. And for her not to build fleets up north, it was a little troubling. But I decided to give Katie the benefit of doubt, just to see if anything changes.
Well, she picked McAllis here. At least it seems like when you had agreed on Romania, You had not agreed on Serbia, and things just
Yeah.
sort of went south for
Yeah.
here for a long time for you, struggling to
Yes.
work it out with Katie. You told her there needs to be a reaction for me, but I don't want it to be an overreaction. I want to continue. It seemed like you still really needed her to, go after McAllis.
Yeah, I mean, I needed space, right? And I needed to encourage her to do that because I felt like in this game that I had a really strong connection with Katie in terms of, helping to be the calming influence when things were really stressful. And I thought that just that alone would allow her to give me the space I needed to deal with Italy, but it didn't.
It did not.
No.
She continued to think her centers were through you. She allows McAllis to go west, sort of unfettered with his up there, with his centers. Now, you're sort of working with Bradley. As we get through here, I think this is coming up to a sort of pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Fall 1912. I think this might be the third time you stab Bradley. And McAllis, though, into Munich.
Yeah.
Here, you're making your move. You're trying to do support, but I think it ended up hurting you, the dynamics here with Bradley.
Yeah, this was a mistake. This is a very clear mistake for me. I should have taken Romania here. My thought was that I needed some pressure on McAllis. I was afraid of McAllis running away with the North, and that I needed somebody to feel comfortable to make that move. I could not see Bradley ever doing so. I thought Bradley's intent would be to lock up Iberia and then work back towards the Balkans. And to me, it was like if somebody's going to have to make the move, it's probably going to have to be Katie, and that's why I made this move, thinking that it would make her more comfortable to focus north a little bit.
And of course, what it does trigger is a major reaction from Bradley. Bradley becomes anti-Riaz,
Yeah.
and it stays this way for a while until 1914, where you're helping him, and
Yep.
he picks up 3, and he's got an outside shot at it.
Yeah.
But I thought your conversations with Bradley were very educational, because you were telling Bradley that I did make a mistake and I would like to help you in any way I can.
Yes, I felt I owed him that because he's done everything he possibly could earlier than this to make the alliance work, and 3 times I turned on him, and at that point I said, okay, well, I'm not going to ask you to leave Trieste. Let's try to. I'll help you try to slow Katie down. My game was over, right? I mean, at this point, I was at 6. There was no way that I'd ever be able to do anything against Katie. So maybe I can try to help somebody else, somebody west or north of me, and I tried my best to do that.
Yeah, and sadly for your efforts, you were, I believe, eliminated. No, you were not. Right? You get
I
to
was
keep.
not. No, I was. Yeah. Katie kept me at 1 center.
Katie kept you on the 1 center. Wouldn't have mattered.
No.
Overall thoughts on the game. If you are speaking to Super 7 people about this game in the future and how to play, you've now done 2 Super 7s where you've grinded it out for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Give us some thoughts.
I think it's one of my glaring weaknesses is that I don't live in the moment of the game. I tend to hang on to alliances and to good feelings and relationships, and I think you have to play this in the moment of the game. And what I mean by that is you have to take each and every turn, each and every game year, and reset and look again at what's your best path forward. Whereas I tend to try to take a 3 or 4 or 5 year path towards that, and I don't think in a top board you can do that. So really, for other players to live in that specific moment, and every year reset, or every season reset your thinking. And I have to practice what I preach as well. That's something I have to do as well, but something I think would benefit almost any player.
Well, Riaz, you're a multiple champion. You're a two-time Super 7 participant. You're obviously one of the best players in the world. It didn't work out for you in this game, but it was a tough position. And thank you for coming on Backchannel.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed. And thank you, all of you, for all of your hard work to make this such a big success.